So this was in like 2005 or six or something like that. So EMMURE was like, it's weird because they always like, everyone always assumed they're from New York, but they're not. They're from Connecticut. And Frankie might have been from New York, but like the Leonetti brothers, the two who made the band, they're from Connecticut. And when they were first in the scene, they were a new metal band. I forget what the name was off the top of my head, but like if you find super old pictures of them, it's like Jinko jeans and like spiky, green hair, shit like
the
that.
good years.
Yeah. So once they started switching into like the kind of hardcore sound, they were like coming into the scene that we were like already established in. So there was this hall show, and this was like every Connecticut show back then. The whole scene was in VFW halls. There was no like venues that like had hardcore shows, metalcore shows. They were also all like completely mixed genres. So you'd have like hardcore bands, you'd have metalcore bands, I would say, not death metal, and metal was not in that scene at all. And there really wasn't any death metal bands back then, maybe one or two. So you'd have like hardcore bands, metalcore bands, grindcore bands, but grindcore to us up there was different than what people associate it with everywhere else. Like it was more like, do you remember like the old screamo bands like Orchid and like Page 99 and shit like that? Like,
I don't know that one. Okay.
The Majority Rule was another one that was really good. It was like melodic, but with blast beats and like super high pitched screaming. Like we would call that either screamo or grindcore, even though obviously it's not. Like grindcore to me now is like Cephalic Carnage or something like that. But to us in New England, we all for some reason called them grind bands. So it would be like there'd be like 15 bands on one bill. The show was run by like a 16-year-old kid whose mom rented a hall or something. So EMMURE was on it, and there was no order to like when the bands were supposed to play, really. Like there kind of was, but it eventually became like Lord of the Flies, where like bands were just like, no, we're playing next. Like, So EMMURE was trying to go on when the promoter kid told them they were supposed to go on. And there was this other hardcore band that I also don't remember the name of, but they were like more, they were bigger in the hardcore scene. Like the people in the band were like friends with everybody, like they had more clout than EMMURE at that time.
The home team.
Yeah, EMMURE was like these new jacks that like no one knew or cared about in a sense. But like we knew them because we played with them all the time. We were always cool, always friends. So there was like some confusion over who was playing next, and this hardcore band basically like muscled them out of the way, like in terms, not physically, although it almost got to that point, but they were like, nah, we're playing now, fuck you. And because EMMURE like lightly argued back, like, well, the promoter told us we're playing. Like it wasn't confrontational, it wasn't ignorant, it was very like, what do you mean? Like we were told we're playing now. This hardcore, they get on the mic, they're like, yo, fuck this band, like, like they just talked all kinds of shit on them. And then from that day, the hardcore kids were like, yo, EMMURE can never play Connecticut, or we're beating their asses.
What?
It just turned into like, it snowballed into like this huge thing for no reason, like for the dumbest shit on earth. And a week later, we were playing, this is the funniest bill too. We were playing in New Haven, Connecticut. It was us, EMMURE, and Last Chance to Reason, if you remember them. That's the singer from The Contortionist. That was his old band. Okay. So it was the three of us, and there was a hardcore show down the street, and like all these dudes showed up like outside of our show to fight with EMMURE. Just because because they were playing a show after they were told that they can't play in Connecticut anymore. So from that point, EMMURE started playing outside of Connecticut. They didn't play Connecticut for like years after that.
That's crazy, dude.
After about 9 months, they got signed to Victory, and there was this like, back when there was message boards, like before social media, like that's where everybody talked, was like, there was a website that everyone in the scene went to with their little username and posted on message boards. Everyone in EMMURE changed their name to like Frankie signs with Victory Records, Ben signs with Victory Records. And they just were trolling the whole Connecticut hardcore scene over it. And it was a funny example of like, they basically got kicked out of Connecticut, and it ended up forcing them to have to tour and get bigger. And then they got huge. and none of the bands that hated them back then ever did anything.